Alright, so TenZ might be coming back to Pro Valorant, and somehow it's already turned into one of the messiest situations in competitive esports right now. For those who don't know, Tyson TenZ and Go is one of the most recognizable names in Valorant. He's a former Sentinels player, insanely skilled, and also a big content creator. At the height of his career, he stepped away from competition to support his fiancée Kyedae during her cancer treatment. She was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia, and TenZ was there through chemotherapy, medical procedures, all of it.
My cancer probably about 2.5 weeks ago, so it's been pretty recent, but I didn't tell anyone actually, not even my mom or my dad or Tyson until after his tournament.
During that time, her streaming career exploded across platforms while he focused on being there for her. Then, after everything, Kyedae ended the engagement. The reason given was that she wanted to find herself.
Oh, this is a big deal because TenZ and Kyedae, of course, were together for about 6 years. She actually says that in the tweet, like twit longer thing that she comes out with here. This got 135,000 likes, 12 million views.
Now, look, I'm Cartor Raay, and I try to be fair when covering situations like this. Relationships are complicated. Nobody outside of those two people actually knows what happened behind closed doors. But that explanation didn't exactly calm the internet down. TenZ had just spent a significant chunk of time supporting her through cancer treatment, putting his career on hold, covering expenses, being there through one of the hardest experiences a person can go through. And then the relationship ends with that particular reasoning. It got messier. Shortly after the breakup, TenZ posted something on Instagram that a lot of people interpreted as implying infidelity. He didn't confirm anything directly, but the implication was enough. The community reaction split pretty hard. Some people criticized Kyedae heavily for the way things went down, especially given the context of what TenZ had done during her illness. Others pushed back against that, pointing out that personal relationships are difficult and that speculating about private matters based on incomplete information isn't fair to anyone involved. To be clear, most people still express genuine support for Kyedae's health and recovery. She's had surgery since then and is reportedly resting and continuing treatment. The circumstances of the breakup itself became the polarizing topic across social media and the esports community. So that's the personal backdrop. Now we get to the professional side, which is somehow even more complicated. TenZ has been grinding ranked Valorant recently. People are watching his activity and reading it as preparation for a return to competitive play. He's even posted videos questioning whether he's going to come back to the pro scene. The speculation centers around Sentinels, his old organization. But if that's actually going to happen, there are some serious obstacles in the way, and those obstacles have nothing to do with his skill level or whether a team wants him. They have to do with sponsorships. TenZ has personal brand deals. He's an ambassador for Wooting and associated with Pulsar. These are hardware companies that make keyboards, mice, gaming peripherals. Now, Sentinels reportedly has partnerships with Razer, which is a competing brand in that same space. The Valorant Champions Tour itself has official partnerships with companies like HyperX, and you can probably already see where this turns into a headache. These aren't minor conflicts that can just be ignored. In fact, they've already caused problems before. At one point, sponsorship differences reportedly blocked TenZ from even signing with Sentinels as a content creator. The conflicts were significant enough that it couldn't happen. So the idea that he's just going to slide back onto the competitive roster without dealing with those same issues doesn't really make sense. TenZ's agent, Jerome Coupez, came out and addressed this. He said that sponsorship conflicts wouldn't necessarily prevent TenZ from returning to VCT competition, but he also acknowledged that such a return could impose restrictions on what TenZ can promote. Specifically, restrictions around competing hardware brands and potentially even other games. If TenZ signs with Sentinels and rejoins VCT, he might have to limit or completely stop promoting brands he currently works with. He might have to avoid certain types of content that conflict with league sponsorships. His income streams outside of his competitive salary could take a hit. And for what? To compete again in a league that comes with all these restrictions? There's no guarantee that happens. And even if it does, TenZ might still face limitations that hurt his ability to operate as a content creator the way he does now. Financially, TenZ doesn't even need to return. He's stable, streams to a massive audience, and has multiple brand deals. He doesn't need a competitive salary.
I just don't think Tyson joins simply because, to be honest, he can take his time. and I don't think he needs to join. Do you know what I mean? But if he really does miss competing and he really wants to join Sun, I just think he will take more time to accumulate as many offers and make a good decision later.
But there's another angle to this that's worth talking about. The TenZ situation has opened up a bigger conversation about how restrictive esports sponsorship models really are. And you already know, Raay never lies. A lot of people are pointing to this whole situation as proof that the way leagues and organizations handle sponsorships doesn't really work for modern players who are also independent content creators. These sponsorship deals can put players in weird situations where competing actually conflicts with their own brand partnerships. And that's becoming more common now because a lot of pro players have built massive personal brands outside their teams. But the sponsorship models that govern competitive leagues were often designed before that shift happened. They were built around traditional sports frameworks where the league and the team controlled almost everything about a player's public-facing presence. That model doesn't really fit esports anymore. Some players have bigger audiences than the teams they play for. Sometimes they even have more pull with sponsors. The TenZ situation is a perfect case study in what happens when those two worlds collide. You've got a player with a massive personal brand trying to come back into a league built around team and league sponsorships. Something has to give. Either the player limits their brand to fit the system bends to fit the player, or the comeback just never happens. Right now, things are in limbo. TenZ hasn't confirmed a return, and any move back into VCT would need Riot, Sentinels, his sponsors, and the team to align. Any one of them could stop it. Some people think the sponsorship issues will get worked out because TenZ is valuable enough that all parties involved have an incentive to make it happen. Others think the conflicts are too significant and that it's more likely TenZ just continues doing what he's doing now without re-entering the competitive scene. And some think that even if the sponsorships get resolved, TenZ might decide it's not worth the restrictions and stay out of competition anyway. What makes this especially interesting is that TenZ doesn't have to come back. He's not in a position where he needs competitive income to survive. He's not struggling for relevance. If he decides the restrictions aren't worth it, he can just keep streaming, keep creating content, keep working with the brands he's already partnered with, and maintain his lifestyle without dealing with any of this. That gives him leverage most players just don't have. But the fact that he's grinding ranked and posting about potentially returning suggests that maybe competition is something he actually wants, not just something he needs financially. And if that's the case, then the question becomes whether the esports infrastructure is flexible enough to let someone like TenZ come back on terms that make sense for him, or whether the system is too rigid and he'll end up walking away from it entirely. Kyedae's health situation also complicates the optics. Despite the polarized reactions to the breakup, most people in the community genuinely hope she continues recovering and stays healthy. Updates from people close to her have indicated that she's had surgery and is resting and continuing treatment. That's good news. But it also means that any public discussion about the breakup has to navigate the reality that one of the people involved is still dealing with a serious illness. That's a difficult balance, and not everyone online has handled it particularly well. What's clear is that the TenZ situation, whether it results in an actual return or not, has already exposed a lot of tensions in how esports operates. The sponsorship conflicts reveal structural issues with how leagues handle player endorsements. The personal drama reveals how much the public feels entitled to weigh in on private relationships. It also raises a bigger question. When content creation pays this well, does coming back to pro play even make sense anymore? As of right now, nothing is confirmed. TenZ is playing ranked, people are speculating, his agent has commented on the sponsorship situation, but there's no official announcement. Any return to VCT would require Riot's approval, coordination with Sentinels, alignment with his personal sponsors, and reconciliation with the team's existing partnerships. That's a complicated process, and it's entirely possible it doesn't happen at all. Whether he comes back or not, this whole situation has exposed a real problem with how esports sponsorships work, and it's shown just how quickly speculation can turn into drama when you mix competitive ambition, brand conflicts, and personal circumstances all together in one situation. Traditional sports models and league sponsorships weren't built for players whose personal brands are bigger than their teams, and the TenZ situation proves it, and the public conversation around these situations hasn't caught up to the reality that most of what people are discussing is speculation based on incomplete information. For now, TenZ is grinding ranked while the community keeps speculating, and somewhere behind the scenes, Riot, Sentinels, and a pile of sponsors are probably trying to figure out if this comeback even works on paper.